with the announcement of the bowl selection, I think this is a product of our relationship with the ACC and being able to match, with LSU. It's certainly excited about the opportunity to play such a great program in LSU. I know our guys were really excited about the news and the matchup that we'll have in the Music City Bowl, playing in a great town in Nashville and in another NFL stadium. Really, is an exciting opportunity for us. It gives us a chance to obviously, get an opportunity to finish the season off with a win. Anytime you get bowl preparation, that's important for a football team, especially one where we're trying to find ourselves. The additional practices allows us to, continue to work with our younger players and continue to develop our players that are currently on our football team. So excited about the Music City Bowl, excited about the matchup. The town of Nashville makes for some pretty good postseason football, and one that we're certainly excited about our relationship with the ACC to give us this opportunity. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Brian, I know we talk a lot about practice.
You're always someone hard to hear, so we made sure that was
I'm usually pretty
loud.
silent over here.
Most of you guys are.
Specifically with a guy like Niles and some of the younger guys, how important are these next couple weeks of practice for them?
Well, they're invaluable. I mean, really, if you look at it, we're going to get 8 practices prior to going down to the site, and another 5, a couple of non-contact situations where we're in weight training, conditioning, and meetings. Essentially, we're talking about another spring ball. So when you get that opportunity with these younger players, it's invaluable in their growth and development. So we need that. We need it desperately, especially for a lot of our players across the board. So it's going to be another building block for these younger players.
You said after the USC game you wanted to see some bite out of these guys. I know it's still a little early, only a week after, but have you started to see the response that you maybe wanted?
Yeah, I mean, everybody is certainly disappointed about the way the season ended, certainly, but you got to look at each position individually, and there's going to be a lot of competition. So when we get back here off the road Thursday, Friday will be our first practice, and the tone is pretty clear about what the expectations are. There's competition. There's competition at all positions, and so we'll be looking forward to that kind of spirited practice opportunity.
So reading into that, quarterback is one of the positions that there will be competition?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think at all the positions, but quarterback there'll be competition as well. Yes.
Do you have an idea of how the reps will be split, or is it a little too early to tell on that?
No, I think we have to, obviously go into that, practice with a mindset of getting Everett and Malik both an opportunity to show what they're made of and how they're going to compete, and allow us the opportunity for them to both grow but at the same time, see what competition looks like from that standpoint. True competition, because obviously this was not a competitive situation during the year. Malik was the backup, and I think I made that pretty clear. We're going to let them compete, and we'll see where that puts us come game time.
And lastly, any of the guys who were injured against USC, do you expect any of them to be back for the bowl game? Max, Greer?
Yeah, we think Max will be, Greer will be. We believe Cody Riggs will be back for the game, and we're hopeful that Sheldon would be back as well.
Brian, in the middle, you mentioned practices for younger players, and I know in a non-championship bowl game situation, that's kind of the focal point of December. Does that change at all for you with 4 losses to end the year, and considering the level of the opponent, is it become a little more bowl specific?
No, this is really about improving our football team more than anything else, and improving the play. As I told our football team, I really have had much problem with this group in terms of their preparation and the way that they work. They put in the time. We're just a sloppy team on Saturdays, and so we have to find out what's that component. Why is that occurring? What are those things that that are happening. And so we've got to clean up what Saturday's about. And some of that is, communication, trust. Some of that is confidence in your ability to go out and do your job. So this will allow us to really reinforce some of those things over the next 3 weeks.
Two other guys on the injury front, Daniel Cage and Jay Hayes. I know there's 23 days left. But
Yeah. Well, Cage battled the best he could. He was limited, but we really didn't have much choice. We had to put a young kid in there. Generally, my experience is that a freshman after his first knee injury is not really even going to answer the bell. I'm proud of the way he actually answered the bell. He was largely ineffective, however. With Jay Hayes, he had an ankle sprain, which was fairly significant, and it's going to take some time. We think we'll get him back, but he's limited right now and probably limited for another week or so.
Cage likely to play, or
Yeah, I think he's going to be in a position where I think we'll see him back to pretty good health by the time we're able to play.
Brian, with the quarterbacks, how long do you want that competition to go? Do you have a feel for that yet?
I think that, really what we're talking about is, some things that I want to see change, that will have to change during practice. And I've already had conversation with both quarterbacks, so I think it's probably more towards what my eye sees during practice, So I guess in answering your question, it'll be when I see what I see, will be the duration of that competition. So it may be 8 practices, it may be a year. But I'm going to have to see what I need to see, from both of them.
And then you mentioned that you thought you would have Max back. Does that give you enough depth where you don't have to be creative with other people at the safety position?
I think so, but we're, obviously we've got to get, I think Farley's going to have to take a little bit of rep work at safety and get some work back there as well, just in case Max can't answer the bell. We're hopeful that he can. We think that he can, but we're obviously very thin there. So it's important that we get some work back there with Matthias as well.
I'm sure that you've maybe caught snippets of LSU this season. They're a very physical team.
Yeah.
And I know in the past you've wanted to have more physical practices. Can you afford to do that given all the injuries that you have on defense?
We're gonna practice physical, even if we have to put out guys that are not going to play this year. We're going to bang and play physical because that's the kind of football that we're going to see. And it can't be flag football here for the next, eight practices. So even if we've got to line up some offensive linemen and put them in defensive lineman roles, we're going to do whatever is necessary to physically prepare our football team for a very physical football team in LSU.
And I'm sure that, Kyle Brinza's chomping at the bit to kind of get back in the swing of things. Do you feel like you're going to stay with the same operation that, even though Malik now is really involved in this quarterback thing?
Yeah, I'm not touching that. I think that's at a point now where Malik just stays out there, and if he's the starting quarterback, he just stays out on the field and handles those duties as well.
And the last one from me, you seem to be pretty happy with the matchup and the location. Did you as a coach, did Notre Dame as a school have some say in the matchup and the location?
Well, as a Tier 1 bowl, there's obviously 2 bowls that we have not participated in. If geographically there's a preference, we'd like to continue to explore areas that we haven't been to before. So you can read into it from that perspective. We knew that an SEC matchup would be most favorable. And then certainly, then it became outside of our control what that ultimate matchup would be with the SEC because of how they tier their football teams. So if there's anything that we controlled, it was that we picked up the phone and said, "We hope you like us like we like you." I guess that's the best way to put it.
Brian, in the middle, like Matuska, on the injury front, where's sort of he coming off USC?
Matuska.
Yeah, Matuska. sorry.
Matuska.
Matuzak,
It's the first time that I've ever been able to really correct anybody. Slew of emails from his parents will get you to get his name right. Could you ask
his
the question
injury
again? I'm
status?
sorry. He suffered a brachial plexus, so he had a pinched nerve, which really had no strength, not enough strength to go in there and battle and compete in the manner that we thought was necessary. Had really good strength and full movement, so we think he's going to be able to get back to practice here at the end of the week. He battled in there, but you know, when you're going from 12 to 15 reps to 73, it's not really fair, you know, to ask a kid to go that many reps. If we were asking him to go, you know, to 30 reps, feel really good about that. So we really got to get his volume up, and that will be what we really work on hard over these next few weeks.
Folston was a little banged up, I think, in the game. How did he come out of that?
He's okay. Yeah, he was banged up a little bit, but I think he's fine, and he'll move forward, no problem.
When you're talking about what you want to see from the quarterbacks, I think with Everett it's fairly obvious, but like with Malik in a practice situation, how do you want to see him practice differently than maybe he has even going back to August?
You know, mechanically, I think we need some little consistency. He has a tendency to fall off his throws a little bit. I think we saw that on his game performance. Made some really good throws, but has a tendency to lose his balance in his throws a little bit. So be more on balance on throws. And then I just think some consistency in what he does in the passing game. I really like what he does in the run game. He communicates very well with the offensive line, got his checks in. So there's some things that he needs to work on, but I think it's probably mechanical in throwing the football, being on balance a lot more. And then I think consistency in the passing game. I think if we do those two things, we make pretty good progress.
And then just sort of big picture, you talked about how this is a team that's sloppy on Saturdays. Is that something that you realistically can fix over 15 practices, or is that more?
Well, we may have to move over one lane, you know, and maybe not be in that speed lane, and maybe slow it down just a little bit and tighten some things up, and you know, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we can't give up the big plays that we gave up. They're absolutely unacceptable under any circumstances, whether we're playing, you know, a slew of freshmen or not. We're in position to make those plays with good fundamentals and good technique, and so we have to eliminate the big plays that we gave up. To give up 6 touchdown passes is absolutely unacceptable under any circumstances, and our coaches know that. Our players know that. Everybody's on notice. You know, coaches alike. Our coaches are on notice. It's unacceptable. So we have to, you know, obviously shore up that situation, and then we've got to do a better job on the offensive side of the ball.
You were out on the road last week, out on the road this week. What's sort of the message you're hearing from prospects that you talk to about what happened sort of at the end of the year in terms of, you know, their view of where Notre Dame's going? What's your message to them about where Notre Dame's going?
Never really had any conversations about anything but, you know, wanting to be part of the program at Notre Dame. You know, I think everybody looks at it in more of a bigger picture perspective than maybe 1 month of the season. I think they look at it over our 5 years here and their 5 years here more so than, you know, what happened over the last month of the season. So, no, we feel really good about where we are in our recruiting. You know, we've got to finish up strong with a couple of positions, but you know, we've got some mid-year guys coming in that have signed their grant and aids, and they'll immediately help our football team. And no, so we feel really good about where we are right now.
Coach here in front, you guys and LSU are kind of fairly young teams that have shown flashes of potentially being really good. Is this a game that you like from that standpoint, that maybe it's a matchup you guys could even see next year in the playoff or something along those lines?
Well, we wanted to be challenged again. There's no sense of going into this bowl game, situation and not feel like you're going to be challenged again. I think there are matchups out there that, don't give you the same kind of challenge, and this is one that we wanted. And again, they're a formidable opponent, very good SEC team. You can see what their record indicates and what they can do. It's going to be a great challenge for us. We just want to continue to be challenged with the football team that we have. We think that we're going to be a really good football team. We've got some things that we have to, clear up and address on Saturdays. I have no problem with my football team in terms of the way they prepare, and all the things that go into, winning football. We showed that we can do that. We're obviously a few plays here or there from having a really good football season and talking about, different situations. We are who we are, and we think that this game in particular allows us to continue to not paint a false picture of who we are, but where we need to get better as we look towards 2015.
And this is kind of a big picture question, and I hate to go back to one play in particular, but it just seems that the Florida State, the pass interference call, kind of sent you guys on a spiral downward. Is that a moment that you guys kind of look back towards as that, or is it kind of just...
No, I really don't think, certainly I don't think that had anything to do with a downward spiral for our football team. We had a young team that was very confident that day and believed. Certainly when you lose a football, 4 games in a row, you start to lose a little bit of that confidence, but we'll gain it. We'll get it back. They know that they can win football games. A lot of our issues were masked, through those weeks. We played a lot of snaps, which left us vulnerable to potential injury. And if we got anybody injured, we were going to be in a very difficult state on the defensive side of the ball. Having said that, and I've made this very, very clear, we underperformed, as coaches on the offensive side of the ball and as players. And we needed to carry some games offensively, knowing full well that our defense was going to be young and inexperienced. And once that, showed itself with injuries, we knew we were going to have to carry things offensively and weren't able to really get the job done.
And then my last question, I think you addressed this already, but Eiler Hardy would be available for this bowl game because it's before the 1st, is that correct?
Yeah, we believe so, but we still have some work to do with that. I mean, we're still in uncharted territory with this matter, so we're going to have to get some further clarification on that.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Coach, up here, to your left.
Sorry.
Sort of a layered question about the quarterback competition. Does the winner of this competition sort of have a leg up going to the spring, or when you get to the spring, is it going to be sort of, okay, we're back to opening up and then maybe adding Deshaun into that mix?
I'm not really sure. I think it really just depends upon, the factors of what improvements are made, what the attitude is, all of those things come into play. There's some things that have to change at that position. And so we're going to have to see, how quickly they are. If we're on the right track, if we're making progress there, then that could be an extension into the spring. I really think it's just a matter of we're going to have to take it, really step by step. We know there's competition at the position, and let's let them go compete. Let's put it clear. The best I can give you is that there's a way I want that position to operate, and it's going to operate the way I want it to operate. And if you operate it the way I want it done, you'll be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame.
And then a question about Niles Morgan. Obviously, he had some struggles late in the year adapting to sort of the role he had, but at the same time, he also had some production. I think he had, 11 tackles in the second half against USC. Had finished the season with 3 straight double-digit games. Can you talk about, what you saw from him as he matured and got more experience, and what you expect from him moving into this bowl game and moving forward?
Yeah, he's going to be a fine football player, but college football, we all know what it is today. It's a numbers game. It's a 5-man box. It's a 6-man box. It's a spread game, and it's played fast. And we played teams that played us fast, that messed with the numbers. And he's got to control that box. He was required to do a lot this year in a very short period of time. All that knowledge is going to prove to be extremely beneficial to him. It didn't help us at the current situation and week to week, but all that experience that he gained is going to be beneficial for him as a football player and for us as a team. But the game is, when you're on defense and you're playing teams that have quarterbacks that can attack you, and we got some quarterbacks that can attack you, whether it's Arizona State, whether it's USC, North Carolina. I'll even put Northwestern in there, or a smart quarterback that can attack you and manipulate numbers and force your defense to move players around. It puts a lot of that cerebral kind of football knowledge on a young kid like Niles or Grant, and that's a lot to ask for him, and it was a difficult chore.
On your right, you mentioned with the quarterbacks wanting to see how they operate the offense you want it to be operated. How much will the LSU matchup and how their attributes fit against that defense play into the decision?
Secondary. This is what I'm looking for, and then we'll adapt, to LSU. This is strictly what I'm looking for from the position.
And I know it's a young team. Have you had any conversations with players who could be eligible for the draft about draft advisory board paperwork?
Yes, we've already sent in those players that have requested the opportunity to be evaluated.
Who are those players?
I can't remember.
All right.
I'd have to look it up. I think it was, let's see, Nick Martin, Ronnie Stanley, Sheldon Day, and the Everett Golson. Those were the four guys.
Thank you.
I have some help back there.
Back on your left, real quick, just want to confirm Austin Collinsworth is out for this?
It doesn't look promising as of today that he would be available.
Thanks.
Yep.
Coach, say the college football playoff seeding came out and the Big 12 got left out in part because they did not have a 13th game on their schedule. That's what the committee chairman said. In light of that information, does that affect how you guys might approach scheduling in the coming years here? Or is there nothing you can do about it at this point?
Well, I think everything is a fluid situation after today's decisions relative to who the four teams are, right? I think everybody's kind of back into their own conferences looking at, did we make the right choices in scheduling and decisions? So, yeah, I'm sure, Jack and I will get back together and look at, where we are and are we doing the right things. And certainly I think it's, again, a situation that has to be looked at and evaluated because it's such a fluid situation. Do we go to 6? Do we go to 8? I think all those things are on the table for discussion, as well as, would we be in at 11-1? I think those are all valid questions to be asked, and it's our responsibility to be prepared to answer those questions based upon how we're scheduling. So, fair question, and one that I think that we'll have to evaluate, like most conferences are evaluating where they're at right now.
All right, let's go to the phone, see if we have any questions from the callers.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are on the phone and you would like to ask a question today, please push star 1 to queue for a question. Our first question comes from Matt Fortuna from ESPN.com.
And just to follow up on that, I'm not sure how much you think about the past and whatnot, but when you see a team that goes undefeated like Florida State and is in the top 2, do you think that's fair, one? And do you almost think, what if we had the system in place when you guys were 12-0 2 years ago?
Well, again, it's so hard for me to get in the minds of others and how they think. My ballot was public, so you could see how I thought. I had Florida State ranked first. I think that winning's too hard in college football not to be evaluated on a full body of work. I certainly was impressed by what Ohio State did against Wisconsin, but I'm not somebody that is just easily impressed by one game. I think the whole year has to be looked at. So I think when you win 12 games and you go undefeated, no matter how you do it, you cannot overlook that kind of work. So I would be hopeful in saying this because I can't speak for others, but I know how I feel. It's too hard to win in college football, and to leave somebody out that's undefeated would go against the reason why we compete for only 12 or 13 weeks a year.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have no additional questions on the phone.
All right, thanks, everybody.